All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another post-purchase pro monthly masterclass. I love doing these because a few different reasons, but one of them is because we get to bring on amazing entrepreneurs and let them share what is getting results out there in the world today. So if you're new here or if you've been around, let me remind you that we're going to jump straight into the valuable strategies. So hang on tight. We're going to have 4 to 6 guest speakers every month. So if one of the topics isn't that interesting to you, stick around for 15 or 20 minutes because the topic is going to change. Like we say every month, but I'm going to go ahead and jump through it again, is we're bringing you the best experts, the best entrepreneurs from around our industry, which is Amazon, e-commerce, actually selling things online to share with you their best strategies, which is why this is so special. The format is every speaker is going to have between 20 and 45 minutes, depending on Q&A. And the topics are going to center around how do you make more profits on Amazon and e-commerce. But sometimes if there's an opportunity that we feel is extraordinary, we'll bring on somebody who is a little outside of the industry. That way we can expand your thinking. Okay, important here. The only reason why we ever host these is because we want you to make more money. We do not accept, and you can quiz anybody who's ever presented on a monthly masterclass. You can ask the speakers today in the questions box if you'd like, but we don't accept affiliate commissions. We don't accept any type of payment. And the reason why is because if we bring somebody to the monthly masterclass, we want you to know that it's simply because we think it's going to help you. And that's it. We're not getting paid on the side. No one can buy their way in as a speaker. You can verify that. All right. If you're not in our WhatsApp group, we drop hacks and strategies from time to time. Normally it's once a week. Sometimes we skip a week here and there, but we do it in this private WhatsApp group. So WhatsApp groups do fill up. So if you want in before it's full, you can just go to joinprivategroup.com, or you can scan that QR code. I'll give you a couple minutes. David says, happy to be here. David, happy to have you. All right, let's see here. Now let's jump into today's agenda, and then we're going to kick it off with Oz. All right, guys, so here's what we're looking at today. This is in no particular order, so stick around. We don't know what's coming up. It's going to be a whirlwind of fun here. So today's agenda is we are bringing on the only person that we have ever allowed to manage one of our personal brands, Sean and I's personal brands. And he's going to be sharing some of his top Amazon growth tips. We're going to be talking about, one of our experts is going to be talking about how do you scale your e-commerce business by maximizing cash flow and access to capital using cash flow models and things like that. We're going to be talking about 5 ways to crank up your profitability. That one, is near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk about how to get the absolute most out of your business when you go to exit it. The big payday in the future. When you go to sell your business, that's probably the most amount of cash you're going to put in your pocket in one time. And that's a big event. So we need to max that out, right? And then we're also going to be talking about logistics strategies to save you costs. You can be more profitable along the way. All right. Shane says, I can only be here for the first hour. Will there be a replay? Yes, there will be a replay. And I will be dropping you guys the link to the replays. All of the replays are hosted on one single replay page, and you can look at all the replays from all the previous masterclasses as well. So I'll send that to you guys in the chat box, but let's go ahead and move on to our first speaker here. We're going to go ahead and unmute Oz and get you all ready here. So Oz, welcome to the Post-Purchase Pro Monthly Masterclass, my friend.
Thank you so much, Seth. Appreciate you guys having me out today.
Yeah, really excited to have you. I'm excited for your topic as well. So I just gave you screen share capabilities.
All right.
So if you'd like to go ahead and pull up your screen, I'll go ahead and stop mine. There we go. Now, Oz, I'll let you kind of give your own little background here. But like I said, I wanted to reiterate, guys, we're not bringing Oz on to share his strategies because we get anything out of it. We just want you guys to grow. So Oz, by all means, my friend, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Seth. Appreciate everyone coming out today. I want to really just focus on, as Seth mentioned, just really talking about cash flow, just a little bit about me, who I am. I've basically had a couple of different careers or different acts in my life. The first one being in the retail, wholesale, manufacturing space, and then a lot of time in the high tech space. And my third act is an interesting culmination of kind of both these kind of paths I've taken, combining commerce and tech to really be in this e-commerce space. So it's very exciting, very dynamic, growing space. So it's really exciting to be part of that. Plus, I have a background in textile and supply chain management, and for many years been a business coach and score mentor. So what I'm doing with Viably now, which is basically a digital banking and funding platform, helping businesses scale up. So really, I handle the customer side, so I'm talking to sellers all day long. So a lot of the information I'll be sharing today is just really just from conversations with different sellers and kind of strategies on how they've been scaling and kind of understanding that and helping them kind of better manage their cash flow. So what's on the agenda for today? I'll touch on the seller matrix, the kind of world of brand builders and cash flow and profits, some tips around cash flow management, as well as when to exit. So which I think will dovetail nicely into a later presentation on exiting. So I think this will be a great session for everyone to stick around throughout the whole 2 hours here. So what is the seller matrix? This came about really just from talking to different sellers, and we kind of bucket the different types of sellers that we've been working with in two kind of key buckets. One is brand promoters, folks that are selling on arbitrage, retail or online, or doing wholesale, whether they're doing local distributors or having the authorized licenses to resell. The world of brand promoters really, it's a buy box strategy. Typically, they're not creating their own brands, they're leveraging the established brands. Then on the other side is the brand builders, whether they are doing CPG, working with co-packers, or have their own plant manufacturing facilities, as well as the importers, where they're actually bringing in goods from overseas. The reason we look at the seller matrix is because the cash flow strategies vary and the cash needs vary depending on the type of sellers there are. So as we can better identify what type of business they're in, understand kind of how their buying cycles are, their lead times, how their flow of money going in and out is, the better we can best align their kind of capital needs as they scale up. So today I'll focus more specifically around the brand builders, just because of how they're potentially scaling up and their potential for exits, and the model. The what we see with the lead time issues and how they need capital is very kind of different than someone who's arbitrage or wholesale, where the lead times are shorter and they can need money on maybe a regular basis, but just quicker. Here, they need it in kind of different tranches over a period of time. So let's get some basic terms just so everybody's on the same page. Now, what is cash flow? Basically, it's just the movement of money in and out of the business. And while profits are great, it's really cash flow that keeps your head above water. So if you're keeping an eye on what's happening with the flow of money going in and out of the business, your best chance of making sure you're better prepared for any unforeseen circumstances that may come up. So what are some of the components of cash flow? There's three kind of main buckets around cash flow, which is the operating cash flow, which is really your everyday, your revenue expenses, money that's going in and out of the business on a day-to-day basis. The investing cash flows, if you're buying any equipment. So we have one customer that bought equipment for packaging in his warehouse. So any of those type of purchases, or even some that are acquiring other brands. So that's really touching into your investing cash flow. And then financing cash flow is whether some sellers may be raising equity to scale their businesses up or getting funding. Anything touching that money side of it is your financing cash flow. And in the same way, there's profits, and those are also kind of the three buckets. Your gross profits, basically your revenue minus the COGS. In the e-commerce space, your Amazon fees gets associated with your gross profits, but your ad spend does not. That gets put into your operating profit. So rent, utilities, marketing also falls in there. If you're familiar with the word EBITDA, this is really the EBIT before the DA. So basically your depreciation, amortization doesn't fall into that. and then your net profit, basically your net, the amount that most sellers are reinvesting back into their business. So I'm going to walk you through an example today. So say, and we're going to do this kind of hypothetically, so the numbers are organized in a way that just kind of makes sense for the sense of the example. So you're buying $10,000 worth of inventory, and putting 30% down. Takes about 60 days to get that produced, upon which time you need to pay the other 70%, and then factor in another 30 days to get that product stateside. So in this case, we know kind of the COGS about a third. So $10,000 of inventory is going to generate you about $30,000 of sales, and it takes about 90 days to sell through that product. So now if we take this and lay it over kind of on a month-to-month cash flow sheet, essentially, and this is looking at it from a cash flow standpoint, from how would you kind of scale up using your own cash, which is what a lot of sellers do. They basically say, okay, I've got my sales coming in, I'm going to scale this business up using that cash flow. So how does that play out? So in this first 6 months, you can see, okay, inventory spend of $10,000. And this is kind of a snapshot in time. So basically an existing business. So starting from month one, you already have some revenues coming in, 10,000 is coming in because the cycle's been buying $10,000 worth of inventory every quarter. So you can see in months 1, 2, 3, I spend another 10,000 and generates the following 3 months another 10,000 in revenue. So at that point, you'll see that it takes, enough cash flow to make a difference in changing something. Okay, so after a time that cash flows, the buffer is large enough from the cash balance that I can now go and say, I'm going to increase it and say from instead of $10,000 worth of inventory, I'm going to double that to 20,000. And then I'll have 60,000 worth of sales over 3 months. It's going to be 20,000 per month. So continuing this way, I can keep scaling this up quarter over quarter. And at the end of the year, I've got some decent amount of sales and I spent about 100K in inventory. But if you look at this at the bottom here, you see the overall cash balance has been really eaten away through this process. And while growing through cash flow seems like a good idea, and to a certain degree it is, to a certain time it is, what really starts happening at some point is the strategy as a whole is a slow growth strategy in a very competitive space. There's a lot of competition happening every day. There's new competitors. I think I heard last there was like 3,500 new sellers coming onto Amazon every day. Not everybody, stays that long, but the fact that the competition is constantly growing. So you need to have a strategy that can really scale fast enough to stay in a competitive position. The other is, while the growth looks good, from this cash flow standpoint, from the cash balance, you can see that your net profits are only about a little less than 2%, and you're sitting with less than 3,000 in cash at the end of the year. So from a funding standpoint, one of the things we're always looking is how healthy is the business to be fundable. And if the cash flow has been eaten up so much that it becomes less fundable, then it's actually hurting you. So like I said, there's a balance of, you want to use some of that cash flow strategy, but then it also makes sense to have some of that outside capital come in. The other piece of it, and we'll touch on in a second, is that making sure you're making those dollars work in the most efficient manner for you. So let's take a look at another example. Same kind of setup, except we're going to do kind of a blended approach where you've got the cash flow feeding it, but now you're going to also take some outside funding. And once again, for that, even it takes enough cash flow to be able to sustain bringing in outside capital, because you have the cost of capital of being able to repay that. So the first 6 months looks very similar. You start growing that. And even the next quarter, you start seeing some of the changes happen by the time you get to the last quarter, where now you can go from, instead of 10, 20, 30, you can go from 10, double it to 20, double it again to 40. And as a result, you get more sales, you have a little bit higher inventory spend. But what's really important down here is look at your cash balance. You have a lot healthier cash position, as well as your net profits are almost 7%. Now, the biggest win out of all this is the return on capital. Basically, you took money, excuse me, to make money. And here you've got every dollar earning you an additional 15 cents more. So by taking outside capital, you actually put money to work for you. So now that becomes an overall much better strategy and a much better position, especially when you end of the year with 16,000 kind of in the cash balance to go into the subsequent years growing faster. Maybe not, might not be doubling again to 40 to 80, but maybe it becomes 40 to 60, but you start scaling at a much faster pace now.
Hey, Oz, you're causing a little bit of a stir here in the questions box. People are asking if they could get access to this spreadsheet somehow. Is that something that you're able to share?
Yeah, I'll share the whole deck.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go, everybody. Oz is amazing. Go ahead.
All right. Happy to. So, as a result of this, when you look at cash flow, when you start funding it from your own cash flow, you're growing linearly. When you're in a position you take it from the outside capital, then you really can grow this exponentially. In this particular scenario, we basically showed that you actually ended up with net profits of 13,000 more than you would have had otherwise. So it puts you in a far healthier position. Excuse me. So first cash flow tip, the strategy for exponential growth. And this is so critical. If you can just get this one piece, if you can just get your net margins to be consistent, whether that's 6, 8, 10%, if you can just get it to you factor in your cost of capital, but have it figured out, okay, I'm going to do say 10%, then just focus on sales, just keep growing that top number. And we see this, with sellers say, they're going to hit $1 million in sales. That means they're basically net profit is at 10%, 100,000, and they keep growing this year over year. And over time, they have a really nice, healthy net profit number, which when you get ready to go sell, when you start thinking of multiples, we have a lot of sellers that are like, okay, if I can get my business to 10 million in sales, have 1 million EBITDA net profit number, and if I can get 4 to 5x multiple, I'm doing fantastic. That's a great strategy, great exit I could have for 4 or 5 years, 6 years worth of effort. Now, another focus is what I mentioned earlier about the return on capital. If you can focus on the return on capital instead of cost of capital, where a lot of people get hung up, okay, well, I need to be careful about the fees and such. Does the cost of capital matter? Sure, it does, but probably not as much as you think. Because if you focus on the return on capital, it's factoring in the cost of capital. So if you can just focus on that return, you're really focusing on all those dollars working for you while you're sleeping. So that's another kind of shift of focus. The third tip I'll point out is leveraging funding. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier, where if you wait too long as a strategy, then you're in a harder position to take on outside capital. So usually what happens is, okay, the strategy is, I'm going to keep using my cash until I get to a point where I really need to go outside. But usually at that point, your business is now in a different position, and people looking at it from the outside, the cash balance and the cash flow is not as healthy because you've maxed out your growth from the cash flow, and you didn't take on capital early enough to give yourself kind of a healthy cash flow. So if you can start paying attention kind of where your cash flow and your planning is, and say, okay, I'm in a good spot, I can take on outside capital now, and position myself that as I keep growing, I'm not gonna, basically get to a point where I'm not fundable. So anytime you can, do a behavior where you can kind of focus on your planned capital needs, it's always going to be cheaper than any unplanned capital needs. You can get ahead of that. So lastly, I'll say on this tip is change the question from how much capital do I need to how much capital can I afford? Now, if you are, oftentimes I'll see sellers, they're focusing on the next invoice, the next quarter. I need money for kind of, a down payment for this next piece of inventory I'm getting on this next restock. if you can go beyond that to say, what is my cash flow situation looking like for the year? Then you can start becoming a lot more strategic about it and how you want to execute that. So, for example, what if your business can actually afford $100,000, but your strategy, when you think about kind of, I'm going to do this much restock, I'm going to launch a couple new products, but all that only required 80,000. Now you can make that decision to say, okay, well, do I want to do one more variation, launch one of those? Do I put more into ads? And do I stay the course as is and just get in a better cash position? So you have all these different ways of thinking about the business if you've kind of planned for it and know exactly kind of how much capital you can afford over a given period of time. So before I get to the fifth tip, this I thought was really cool to see. And it's what I call, what some of the smart sellers I see doing is they are starting creating this, what I call kind of sleep well at night buffer. So they kind of take a look at the business, and oftentimes people are looking at it, well, I just want to make sure I don't get to negative cash flow. They've actually built out this kind of buffer, and they don't ever want to dip below that number. So this is, it could be 50,000, it can be 80,000, whatever that number is that says, you know what, if anything happens to the business, I know I've got this kind of chunk of capital available to me. And if anything hits the fan, I've got myself kind of covered. So the way to go execute that is first, set that whatever that number is going to be. And once you set that number, keep in mind that it's going to evolve, meaning like, when you're starting off first 2 years, a problem may be solved by $40,000 if you had that buffer set in place. But the problems that may emerge in year 5, that may require $100,000. So having that buffer in place and letting that evolve with the business is crucial. So pick your number, create the plan so that you don't dip below that number, and then start by just creating that buffer. A lot of times it's 3%, 5% of the sales, and over time that just starts growing until you hit that number that you want. So you don't feel
Oz,
it every step of the way.
sorry about
Sure.
that, Oz. I thought you were gonna take a breath there. So Tim asked a great question. Is the increase in return with the outside cash predicated that you have more stock to sell more often versus one container a month or something like that? Otherwise, are all the numbers the same?
Yeah, I mean, turning over inventory is a crucial part. I mean, that's kind of fits within your business that, if you can, it's not just because you can buy more, but you got to be able to sell more. So you have to have the throughput overall. This way you're generating the sales and you're getting the percentage increase in net profits. So once again, it goes into overall strategy. It's like, okay, I have capital, but do I have everything else in place, the infrastructure in place that I can take the capital and have it turn into money back for me? One of the other things we tell people is like, if you don't want to take capital too early, meaning that if you haven't figured out, okay, I need to optimize my ads some more. Yeah, sure, that's a kind of continuous process. But if you've got this kind of leaky bucket where you have ads that are not optimized, more capital is not really helping you, grow the business. It's just basically feeding the Band-Aid. So if you've got some of that stuff sorted out, then you really want to use capital at a point where you're really ready to kind of throw fuel on the fire. That, at least from the standpoint of you're going to get the best ROI for that dollar.
Thanks, Oz. Go ahead.
So lastly, I'll touch on just some exiting thoughts. EBITDA, which you probably all heard, is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Businesses will, or acquiring businesses will, or whether it's a business or a private equity or investor, they're going to look at that, or SD, which is your seller's discretionary earnings, which is essentially kind of the EBITDA number, just adding back in your salary, benefits, any type of one-time events. So when you're looking at this, two things, it's one is who's going to be doing the potential buying. If the buyer is going to actually run the business, then they're really thinking about it from an SD standpoint because they get to take the same advantages as you as the owner have. If it's a private equity firm aggregator that are looking at, I'm going to go hire somebody to run that business, then they're probably looking at it from the EBITDA standpoint because they can compare that with other business opportunities that they may be looking to invest in. So the SE number, because you're adding that stuff back in, the SE number will be higher than the EBITDA, hence the multiples will actually be higher on the EBITDA. And when you get to probably 1.5, 2 million, most likely at that point, businesses are going to be looking at it from an EBITDA standpoint than an SDE as well. So just some things to keep in mind. When we're talking to folks about exiting, it's also like to kind of just hit on when is the right time to be thinking about an exit. And that varies from business to business. So here's kind of 5 different kind of signs I suggest people look for. One is, have you met the goals? A lot of these sellers I talked to, they started this off as, the side hustle that just started blowing up, and they were taken by surprise by, how well it's taken off. And they got really interested in, how I can take this, and maybe it becomes a number that I need to hit as my kind of target. Maybe it's a level of kind of market penetration that I really want to own this particular category, or have this brand recognition that if I walk down the street, I could, know that somebody's using some of my products. So it's really objective, whatever that goal is for you, and feeling that you got a sense of closure that, okay, I've met that particular goal. The other time is what's happening in the market. If you were ever thinking about selling last year versus this year, a lot has changed. So once again, it goes back to thinking about who's doing the buying. Is it somebody that's just going to be running the business? Maybe they care a little less because they just want to buy the business and they see it's a healthy business and they're going to run it, versus an investor that's looking to potentially balance out their portfolio, meaning that if they got very aggressive the last couple of years with their acquisitions, maybe now they're looking to find the deals to balance out their overall portfolio and diversify or de-risk themselves. So factor that into what's happening in the overall market as well. The other is selling at the top of the arc. Now, you never really know what the top is, but ideally, what happens when you get over that top is you start kicking in the burnout starts kicking in. You notice that, wow, it's just one more competitor that's just kind of eating into some of my margins, or one more issue with the supply chain that I have to deal with. And you get to the point where you're losing some of the passion and the fuel that you had when you started the business. And maybe the KPIs aren't looking as great. The people that were initially reaching out to you for potential acquisitions, or the calls are not coming in as fast or as much anymore. So ideally, you want to, catch it on the top of, as you're going to the top of the peak, and maybe if you hit the top, great. If not, just descending off of it. So the better you can kind of capture that, the better kind of exit you'll get, and you'll just be happier. The fourth is just getting ahead of a lot of changes. I mean, ChatGPT is just revolutionizing so much of what we do, but it could be a lot of other things, whether it's technology, compliance, regulatory issues. Maybe there's a buyer out there that has, deeper pockets, better network of connections, can better navigate what may come ahead with the resources they have available. So it might be a great time to get out now. And lastly is you've reached your own kind of personal limit, meaning that you started this, maybe you had a specific intent, or maybe this over time it just kind of grew. It's like, okay, I like doing this part of the business. And maybe it's just I'm focused on Amazon. I don't want to mess with going on to Walmart, eBay, or go do direct to consumer with Shopify, or go into UK or European markets or Australian markets. You kind of realize this is what I'm good at, and this is what I like. Or maybe it's like you've done all those things, and it's like the next step is, well, to really scale up, you need to go to B2B, hire sales folks, bring on payroll, and take on that challenge. And it's like, okay, well, maybe at that point, let me just go find some aggregator CPG company that can just kind of scoop it up. They've got the network, they've got the distribution channels in place. They can probably go execute on this better. And this is either your chance to retire, or from what I see from a lot of sellers, are like, okay, I'm ready to go do this again. I'm just going to do it faster and make more, and have a bigger exit in a shorter amount of time. So find out kind of, this whole journey of entrepreneurship, it's a self-knowledge experience where you get to learn a lot about yourself. and what interests you, and what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are and what you want to outsource and what you want to do more of. So being aware of that will also help kind of make that decision. Do I stick around or do I move to something else? So if it's okay, Seth, I'll just share a little bit about what Viably is doing and take any other questions there may be.
Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. So as I mentioned earlier, we're a full kind of all-in-one banking and funding platform. So a lot of the stuff that I kind of showed you on the spreadsheet, we're actually building into the product. So you can actually, instead of having to do it through spreadsheets, we have all the data connections with Amazon, Shopify, Walmart, eBay, and you can do all your forecasting and simulations right into the product and say, okay, well, if I was going to go launch another 3 SKUs or a couple of variations, what's the impact on my business? What can I afford to do? What can I not? What kind of strategies can I execute with my current cash flow versus when do I need outside capital? So that intelligence gets all kind of built into the platform. And then just some automations, moving transactions into your QuickBooks and stuff. So just streamlining that whole process, everything kind of related to that finance kind of ecosystem we want to help you with. And simple as just go connect the store, apply for funding, and just grow the business, really. We'll do, from a cash advance standpoint, up to 80% of the sales, growth capital up to $250,000. You just need to be in business for at least 3 to 6 months. And like I said, just show some screenshots of kind of what we're building out for the cash flow modules and the simulations. And lastly, Seth, I want to point out, I just love how your approach and your model of this is around, we talked to Seth and Sean, like, hey, we get you part of our affiliate program. Like, no, that's not how we do it.
Yep.
We just take care of our people. So we're like, okay, well, that's awesome. Let's just give more to the people on this call. So if anybody takes use this QR code, go through the process. If you take anywhere from 20 to 50 between now and the end of next month, hey, here's another extra grand for you. Thanks to Seth and Sean. So,
well, I really appreciate you, Oz. If you have a direct link, feel free to post that or send that over to me, and I'll drop it for everybody in the chat box. Guys, I just pasted the link for all of the replays in the past, including this one when we finish today. So let me know in the chat box if you got that. And then Oz, I really appreciate your presentation, man. You didn't just jump into what you guys do. You really shared some good stuff, and I can attest to it. We grew a bunch of brands in the past, and cash flow is definitely king when it comes to Amazon. You have to have enough cash for sure.
indeed.
So really appreciate you, Oz, and love to send the direct link to everybody. Like I said, guys, we're not getting anything for this. We just wanted to bring you something amazing, and I think Oz did that.
Thank you, Seth.
All right, Oz, thank you so much. Guys, let's jump into our next speaker. Let's see here. We got to move along. All right. Hey, Oz, if you don't mind, hit stop screen share, and I'm going to go ahead and get Daryl unmuted, and oh, there we go. Okay, amazing. So Daryl, long time coming, my friend. Welcome to the Post Purchase Pro Monthly Masterclass.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. So let's see here. How long will we have? How will we have this file? So guys, if you're asking about the replay or any of the files associated with it, I'm going to try to put all of those on that same link in the questions box. So it's postpurchasepro.com/MC for Masterclass and then replay. So find that link in the questions box today. But we're going to go ahead and jump into our next speaker here, which is Mr. Daryl Gosnell. Daryl, your presentation is one I'm stoked for because, you've been my best friend since what? Like we were 12. And here's the other crazy thing, and I let everybody know before today, is you're the only person in the whole world that Sean and I have trusted with one of our personal brands to manage it. And you did an amazing job, and you grew it from 0 to hero in my book. And I'm really excited to hear what you've been up to in the Amazon world publicly. I already know the story, but I'd love for you to share that a little bit and share some of the cool things you're working on, man. And then at the end of your presentation, I want to talk about something exciting that it's kind of a little different in the space that we don't really know of anywhere else. So pretty stoked for it, man. So if you don't mind, go ahead and share your screen and we can get you queued up.
Gotcha. Let's see here. Let's see if I can make sure I get the right one. All right. Can you see that all right?
You're good, man. So I'll hang out in the background here. If anybody has a question for Daryl or any of the other speakers as we go through, find the chat box. If you guys just go ahead and verify that you know where the chat box is, that we're coming through loud and clear. Just give me a looks okay, good to go, whatever it is. Find the chat box and shoot me a message, and we'll let Daryl continue on here. All right, Chad says good to go. All right, Daryl, go ahead, my friend.
All right. So, like I said, I've known him for a very long time. We've kind of started Amazon together. I've been in the space for about 10 years. There's definitely been a lot of learning since I've handled the management on their company. Amazon is ever changing, and so I'll talk about a few of those things in here. But over the last 5 years, in addition to selling professionally on Amazon, I also have done work for some coaching companies and some large management companies, handling just kind of like the strategy side of things. I kind of geek out on all the analytical side of things, like how to manipulate the data, how to push back on Amazon when they're always making these changes, and kind of win over the algorithms. So Seth asked me to come on and just kind of give some of the ways that that we look at Amazon for like the management companies, like what's the most logical way to look at it to improve listings as cheaply as possible, with outside of the pay to play PPC space, and or having to pay for big services and things like that to do all the work for you. So that's kind of what this is about, just kind of free information. The first part of this is just kind of small general examples. Hopefully they're not completely nonsensical, but just try to put them up there as a kind of an illustration. But then the nitty gritty is where to get all the data. So the best stuff. So the most analytically sound and reliable data to improve like your organic SEO on Amazon. So as opposed to paying PPC to increase in ranking, like how do we at a base level increase your organic ranking and all this stuff? I mean, this is where I kind of geek out on the testing, but it's effectively taking an exact phrase match keyword, one that's not like a top 10,000 keyword where you can basically not get it to move, but taking long-tailed phrases and plugging them into the listing, and then in real time checking to see if you can improve your ranking. So that's what it's kind of all based around. So the big question that everybody kind of always has is, how do you create revenue on Amazon? I mean, this is about the most important thing. So what is the most important aspect of creating revenue? Is it being in the great niche? I mean, of course, that's always going to be true. I mean, you don't want to be number one in a market that is ultra niche and obscure and no one's really looking for it, and they're selling 20 units a month. So not going to be a whole lot of money there. So if you were, and since Amazon literally ranks everything, by the BSR, your monthly units sold, everything's ranked in order, you can see where you should be selling. So if I was in the health and personal space, we can see that as an example, there's this meat thermometer. So we just grab a couple thousand of those and we're ready to stack some cash. But we all know that that's just not how it works. There's a lot more to it. So what's next? Is it having the best value, or having the top quality product? Well, here's two examples of meat thermometers. And I mean, this is just kind of a picture of the listing, the product itself, along with like the listing. You can see that they are very, very similar in the way that they're set up. The images are actually fantastic on both sides. They both have great infographics. Not necessarily, I didn't take a deep look to see if the infographics line up nicely with their sales copy from the bullets or anything like that, but they both just have a really attractive look. But what's the performance like? So the one on the left does $1 million per month at $16.99. So that's a fine price, huge revenue. The one on the right sells for $6 and does $200 a month. So, there's obviously a big difference here. One, and we can get into this here in a minute, but obviously the amount of reviews you have are going to play a big factor here. But in order to create sales, you have to be showing up within the search results. And where do you want to show up in search results? What are the best keywords that you should be focusing on? So if traffic is that answer, then Amazon ad spend could be the way to go. And obviously with their kind of pay to play system, and it has become that way over time, it seems like no matter how good the listing is, if you don't have ads running, it seems like it's really hard to create any sort of substantial rank or to hold any rank even. And so it can be, you can feel like you need to go there, and you should. I mean, Amazon ads should be there, but we also need to know what are the correct keywords there, have a good strategy. But at what cost is there with the Amazon ads? And so it's not even just on the front end. I mean, you can shell out $1,000 as long as it was coming back profitably. You don't really mind to spend that amount of money. But what if you're spending a lot of money to create a lot of impressions, a lot of clicks that were actually at a very, very low conversion rate? Something that's happened to Amazon over time is that it's no longer just stuff your title full of the best keywords, and then you rank it up and you just kind of statically rank there as long as you are continually creating sales. So it's kind of like a self-reinforcing loop where if you were ranked at the top because of the keywords that you used, you got the sales, and because you were getting the sales, you stayed there. It's hard for other people to come up and challenge you in that space. And so what Amazon's done over time is like they first limited the amount of characters you could use in the title, which was fine. I mean, it cleaned it up a lot. They said it was for the customer perspective, customer experience, so that it looks cleaner. And then so it was huge titles before. I don't know what the limit was, maybe at least 1,000, maybe even 2,000. But then it dropped down. I think they went from 1,500. But then even after that, after we dropped down to that 200 range, then another thing happened where it wasn't even just, none of the products were even statically ranked. So once you get up there with sales, now it's obvious that conversion has become a really big factor. You can go in and look at your products in real time. I'm sure you've seen where maybe at 9 a.m. on the day for a particular keyword, you might be ranked number 5 or 6. But then by 5 p.m., when the majority of the sales would be coming through, you might be ranked 20 or 30. So what Amazon's doing is testing out highly ranked or highly converting products in that space to see if they get good sales or not while they're there. And then that helps them improve their static rank over time. But it just tests out these higher converting, higher quality, or at least that's the perception of the product, testing them out there and see if they perform well. So knowing that's true, I mean, the conversion aspect is exceptionally important, which is heavily part of the new algorithm. And so it can feel annoying when Amazon makes these changes, but it really should be viewed as a competitive advantage. So we can systematically come in and work on the products to make sure that we are doing better than our competition, make sure we're using the correct keywords, make sure we're being smart on our advertising spend so that we're not just dumping in a lot of impressions, a lot of clicks that are actually going to give us a very low conversion rate to kind of dumb out most of our good keywords, because it's going to draw those down as well. It also helps to keep huge Chinese companies from coming in with okay products, and they were doing all their big giveaways, so they had like the highest BSR, so they stayed right at the top of the page. So Amazon obviously didn't like them having a crappy product at the top of the page, and so this helps with that too. So we can kind of compete as long as we have a good quality product that converts really well. It's well written listing, good photos, and having the just having the conversion to maintain the top spot. Whereas a lot of the Chinese companies, if they get all those bad reviews, a lot of returns, it can knock them off the top spot. So So this real world example, obviously outside of just organically improving the keywords, things like reviews are obviously going to be one of those reinforcing loops, but we can't just start with great reviews. We have to work up. So that's where having the best keywords, long tail keywords where you can have high relevance and create good conversion that'll help you boost up over time and hopefully gain all of those reviews. So in this example, you can see that this product has 48,000 reviews. This one had 0, even though it's a fantastic product. It was written well. It even did it, and I'll show an example of the ranking, or the keyword indexing that they have. But no one can start off with those big reviews. So if I were to make revamp this product, sorry, let's actually do the next slide. But see, this is like a side by side of like title to title, bullet point 1 to bullet point 1, and like the indexing directly from Amazon's system, as far as like the best keywords that they could be using. So you can see with the product on the right that has very low sales. It's a handful, like 8 to 10 keywords with total unique velocity of 300, search velocity about 300,000. They're both using the exact same title keywords, but the listing on the left has much more. They have more long tail keywords overall. They have a lot more keywords from that top 4 million searches from like brand analytics, which we'll get into. But so it's not like it's written poorly, but they're kind of broad on the keywords that they're using. They didn't use a lot of exact phrase match keywords. And so if we're trying to refresh this, since that listing has 0 reviews, obviously we can just kind of relaunch under a new UPC. We would want to revamp based on conversion-based, highly relevant long tail keywords, and then launch on Vines. We get all those seed reviews. So this is directly from Amazon. I'll show you where we got this, and that's kind of the whole point of this presentation, is where to get all these great keywords directly from Amazon so that there's no fluff. But you can see, from these keywords, these long tail 4 and 5 word phrases, that I just kind of reworked a few of their titles, but it doubled the exact frequency match in the title. So it was 2 matches, went up to 4. It was about 60,000 up to 128,000, which the numbers are, the specific velocity score is relative to the market. So, and you can see that it's a lot more direct. It's based almost, it's dialed into just being a meat thermometer for barbecue grilling. So that you can dial in your photos and make sure that the consumer knows it's exactly what they're looking for. So you can make a lot of those decisions from this process. So where do we get this information? And so it's coming from Amazon's brand analytics, which is a free resource as long as you are brand registered, which in today's Amazon, it's almost required at this point. So hopefully everybody has taken those steps to get brand registered. And I like to use the search query performance, and this is also something, if I were to come back on to, I have a few processing sheets for using the search query performance score, which basically just tells you what the customer is finding you to be, your product to be relevant for. It'll tell you the relevant search phrases and how well you're converting and how many sales you're getting each month or for whichever period. And so I use that to find like my most relevant 2-word phrase to then dump into Amazon's search term query. So this to me is the most important resource. I like to use it over like Helium 10. It's free. And Helium 10 and a lot of Jungle Scout, a lot of these other resources, they're great resources and have a lot of really cool tools, but there's also a lot of fluff created in the keywords that they have. It's kind of like they're artificially created keywords based on pairing Amazon's system, Amazon brand analytics. But in order to get more, it's almost like it's blended to Google Trends or just Google's like whatever search queries that they can find, or putting things together. Because if I were looking here, as far as keywords that include meat thermometer, it's something like 40 or 50 keywords ranked in that top 4 million, which is how many searches that Amazon like tracks over time. And so, but then if you go to Helium 10, somehow there's like 4,000 keywords where that would be relevant. There's just a lot of extra stuff added on. So that makes it easy to get lost in all the data again, just because there's so much information. That's why I like to pull it directly from Amazon. So if we go to the brand analytics, navigate to the top search terms, and then you can choose your reporting period. And this is important because if you were working into Christmas, you could actually go into Q4 of last year and find out which keywords around meat thermometer were ranked during Q4. So you find a lot of like gift ideas or gifts for dads or meat thermometer as a gift or whatever, stocking stuffer. You'd see a lot of those types of keywords show up. But in general, typically if I'm going to redo a listing, I go on the most recent completed quarter. And so I would start with meat thermometer. So if I dump this in here and then click refine the refine the results, it's going to show me every single keyword that Amazon is showing as indexing from Amazon customer searches. That includes the words meat and thermometer. And you can see that it's not just exact match, they also have broad match. So this one, cooking thermometer for meat, since it uses both words, is in there. So we have this list of 40 to 50 keywords that we can generate a download for, and then put that into a Google spreadsheet so that we can get all of the unique ASINs, and then run this again based on all these unique ASINs. And so that what that's going to do is show us every single place that any of these ASINs are ranked in the top 3 spaces. You can coveted sales spaces. Anytime you are ranked on Amazon, obviously you want to be ranked on the first page, but positions 1, 2, and 3 are almost always going to get the majority of the sales when a consumer searches for it. So if we dump back in the full list of ASINs in here, like I have in this case, you can see it comes back and gives me 250 results instead of just the initial 50. And something like lightning deals of today shows up because one of these ASINs is ranked in the top 3 for that. What else? I see some of these outliers. Infrared thermometer, things like that. It may not be hyper relevant, but it's in your market. So you can also use these keywords for PPC. But what I've done is created just kind of a filter for all this information. So these are the 61 ASINs that I found. These are all the brain analytics data that comes from that. And so I just overlaid a filter on it. It's looking at each of the titles to see which ASINs have the word meat and either thermometer or probe in it, and then show me where they're ranked, which keywords that they're ranked for. So you can see these are the most redundant keywords or phrases used in the title. So 2-word phrases. And so meat thermometer, instant read, thermometer 4. So these are things that we want to focus on when I'm creating titles or anything like that. These are all the most redundant phrases from search terms. So a little bit different, just different look at it. And these are the top keywords that I was able to find. And again, this is from a free resource. It's directly from Amazon. So it is all like kind of substantiated analytical data that I can rely on. I know that this is what consumers are searching for right now. So this is what I want to build my listing based on. This is where I want to get all my organic ranking. This is where I want to create all my PPC ads, make decisions about the infographics that I'm using. And I think I put it, yeah. So then here's an example of splitting out all the keywords by word length. So this would be very useful for especially PPC. I mean, I can create campaigns based on the word length, so I can give them different spins based on how direct of a match it's going to be. I can do, since these are branded terms, I can do campaigns against competitor names or find their ASINs and things like that. But this gives what I like to use it for is when creating titles, I like to find the longest like phrase possible that is including the most direct or obvious phrase, like a meat thermometer. So digital meat thermometer with probe would be a word or a phrase I absolutely want to use in my title, because it just gives me so much exposure. It has obviously a lot less competition. But if I rank up with this digital meat thermometer with probe, it will also at the same time help me increase my indexing and ranking for the shorter term meat thermometer. So, and again, like, so with all this, just having all this data, you can also use it for planning out your backend attributions. If something is being searched, like different special features, or whether it's like stainless steel or if it's type of plastic, or the number of settings that it has. I mean, if you're seeing these in here, that's something you would want to use in the backend attributions. It'd be something you want to use in your infographics for planning and things like that. So, and then I think Seth he definitely wanted me to touch base on this one. This was probably like the biggest win I've ever had in my business. It was probably the make or break situation. For my company, I had a product that it was actually really simple to change the packaging. It was like right at 18 inches. And so because the packaging went over the 18-inch mark, it kicked it up into a small oversized product. Oops. Go back to that. But a small oversized product has a fulfillment fee right now of about $10 per unit, but with it being a 1/4 inch shorter.
Hey, Daryl, something happened to your screen there where it's black and wherever you're dragging your mouse is white. So maybe try to do a screen share again or hit play again.
Well, it says I'm still sharing.
Yeah, you're sharing now. We can see it, but we can just see it. It's fine. Just go ahead.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, like I said, so this is like probably the biggest one that was in my business. So, like I said, familiarize yourself with Amazon's, size tiers, and there are some kind of like hidden aspects in here. But knowing the difference between a large standard size product and a small standard size. So basically, if any of these dimensions, the 18, like the longest side, median side, and shortest side, if any of them exceed these parameters, then it would kick it into a oversized product. So in my example, instead of being a 1 pound large standard size product that should have been shipping for $4, it was more than double because of that 1/4 inch on the packaging size. So this is something I would definitely have everybody go in and check. If you have any products that are really close to this, and another example was between small standard and large standard. So you can see small standard is between 12 and 16, but they also add in like the size of the box. So if you go in and find these charts by looking up fulfillment fees, I found that they automatically add a 1/4 pound to your product when they ship it out for the size of their box. So if I adjusted my product so that it was a 1/4 pound lighter, then that saved me like another $1 on fulfillment. So definitely look into these types of things, understand, and also be really careful when you're setting up your product. Make sure that if you're right on the edge, go underneath of it so you can, it's a big savings.
Yes, Daryl, this has been amazing. So one of the things I want to highlight for everybody with this last strategy is Daryl's profits went up by like 50% or more. And I can't remember the exact data, but we were working really closely as he was working through this process, and I got to see the change. And it was like his product was slightly oversized, so he had his manufacturer redesign it to be slightly shorter, and his profits went up dramatically. So that's a great point. Guys, one of the things that I wanted to show you here, and remember, I'm not getting anything for this, I'm just telling you for your own benefit, is that Daryl is one of the only people in the space, actually the only person in the space that I know of, that is now a full service agency for not mega brands, not the $100 million companies, right? He is right in the wheelhouse for all of us, which is amazing. And he's the only person, like I already mentioned, that's that we've ever allowed to manage one of our personal brands. And we partnered with him on a couple brands. So he worked for a huge agency for the last couple years, has tons of experience building his own brands and others. And now he's willing to help us. Daryl, I mean, you're full service agency. So I'm just going to rattle through a few things and you let me know if it's in your wheelhouse to help people. So it's like product idea, and then product, fit, right? Product testing, product sourcing, talking about PPC management, talking about optimization for SEO. You're talking about graphics and all these things that go into making a great business. You can kind of handle all of those where it's needed. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, and kind of the way I view it is that, it's expensive to hire employees. It's risky. You don't really know what you get into. I've created a lot of processes over time, and I have a lot of resources as far as sourcing in China. I have my own designers and things where I can kind of extend my personal resources, and just use them to help. Like I said, I mean, a handful of clients at a time. I don't like to take on too much and get too overwhelmed, and also get behind on deadlines and things. But they also I don't want them to sit there and go unused. And this is just a good way of just kind of maximizing everything.
Well, Daryl, I'm really appreciative of you helping everybody out. So guys, if you want to talk to Daryl about your business, so many of you guys reach out to us and you're like, do you have somebody that can help me with A, B, or C? Well, finally I do. Finally, Daryl has decided to reach out and help people like he's helped us in the past, which is, the biggest recommendation that I can say is I trusted him with my money and my brand. So scan that QR code, set up a call, set up a time to talk with Daryl to see if what he's got going on can help you, because chances are at least something that he's doing, because I've seen him work, can help you out. So Daryl, if you don't mind, just paste that Calendly link to me and I will send it out to everybody. That way they have it, because I know sometimes those links are tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's see here. We got to move on to our next speaker, but Daryl, really appreciate you, man. Can't say enough good things about you.
I appreciate it, guy. Have a good one.
All right, thanks, Daryl. Okay, let's move on to our next speaker here. We have Mr. Hi from Eva. Hi, how are you?
Hey man, what's up?
I'm doing really well and appreciative that you're on here with us today, my friend.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for inviting me. So I'm really excited to tell more about some profit maximizing tips.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. So, hi, I've enabled screen sharing for you. So you can go ahead and hit the screen share button there if you have something to share, and then I'll let you kick this thing off.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me share my screen and I hope you can see that.
Yes, I got you. If you want to go ahead and hit play, we can jump right into it.
Absolutely. So let me also, I'm going to share an app as well. So I'm going to keep it in that mode. So today I would like to talk about like 5 killer strategies to increase profits on Amazon. And my name is Hi Mag. I'm the co-founder and chief executive officer for Eva, and Eva provides a software platform for agencies and for brands on Amazon to help them to maximize the profits. So I'm going to talk about some strategies, and I'm going to show kind of in real life, like how these strategies really work.
That's perfect. Hey, Hi, you're in editor mode. If you want to hit play so your screen goes full, that'd be amazing.
Okay, so like that.
There you go. Perfect. All right, I'll let you take it away, and I'll jump in if there's any questions.
Okay, sounds great. So let me start with the first one, kind of an interesting one that, first of all, like we believe the e-commerce or in Amazon, the success depends on a couple of things, like obviously traffic is important, but conversion is also super important as much as the traffic, and pricing plays a fundamental role in increasing the conversion. So one of the things that we believe it makes a lot of sense is to use dynamic pricing to increase the profit margins. And when we talk about dynamic pricing, I mean, for example, when the demand is increasing, what about increasing the price? And how can we realize that? How can we really identify if the demand is increasing and or the number of sessions is increasing? Another scenario is like the competitive pricing, where there are similar ASINs and you are pushing ads, but maybe because the competitor's price is much better than yours, your ad strategy doesn't work, and you would like to have a competitive pricing based on a similar ASIN. Another one is inventory-based pricing strategy, where if your inventory is low, especially in Q4, as Q4 is coming, if you're not able to replenish the inventory, and if your inventory is going down, you may want to increase the price because you want to avoid or delay the stock out situation. And the inventory-based pricing, especially in Q4, helped our customers to increase their profits by at least 30%. And related to inventory pricing, I have two other nice business cases. One is, what if you have too much of an inventory on Amazon and you want to reduce the inventory, number one, because you don't want to pay storage fees to Amazon. And based on that, you want to, decrease the price until your inventory is at the level that you want it to be. And another one is like a launch strategy, where, for example, you want to start from a 60% discount. And as you sell more, you want to decrease the discount levels. And for example, when you sell 5 units, when you're launching a product, then you can reduce the discount from, let's say, 60% to 50%. And if you sell another 5, you reduce it again. And yes, you can do all these things that I mentioned in a manual way. But I mean, another idea is like, using a pricing system, using a pricing management system to handle all this demand-based pricing or competitive pricing or inventory-based pricing strategies, kind of like using an algorithm or an application and software to do that for you. So in general, what we see, and this is a very conservative approach, a conservative statistic, a 5 to 15% profit increase if you're able to, kind of add the pricing strategies, dynamic pricing into your products. Specifically, like launching a product, you can have a velocity-based pricing strategy. Or if one of your product is already selling a lot, then a dynamic pricing strategy can really help, because if you're selling 100 units and if you're able to increase the profit by $1, then for that day, you're going to be making an additional $100, right? So, and it's only for a day, only for an ASIN. So over a month period, that can be $3,000. And if you have multiple ASINs, you can have a much better profit as well. So what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to also show you in real time, like how this works. So this is kind of like the EVA dashboards, like where you can see your profits and sales, expenses, ACOS, and all that stuff. But I'll just go dive into the pricing management just to give you an idea how it works. And for a product like the, the one that I'm clicking right now, first of all, if I go to check the kind of like number of orders, you can see that almost every single day, the blue line is showing the number of orders. There is like 4 to 5 orders every day. You can see that the green line is reflecting the availability. And if I look at the pricing, the pricing is kind of like changing dynamically. There is the dashed lines, which is the minimum price and the maximum price, and the pricing is changing every day based on the demand, based on inventory levels, and the AI is updating the price. That's happening every day. Now, for this particular product, we also kind of incorporate the advertising costs, and based on the tacos, the price can also change. I'm not going into details, but we are able to see at the every single day a profit level of roughly around 28%, where before doing dynamic pricing, the profit levels are around 22%. So we were able to increase the profits by 6%, like 22 to 28%, increase on the profits by using the dynamic pricing. So that's about dynamic pricing. I'll try to, keep it short. And if I just move to the second one, one of the things that, we also see a great possibilities for increasing the profits is returns management. So a lot of Amazon sellers are not even based in US. For them, the only way to, use the returns management is let Amazon handle the returns, where even if you are based in the US or not, if you let Amazon, handle the returns, what we see is 95% of the items that Amazon will handle will be disposed, or at least you will think that they will be disposed. And we also see that there is like a kind of a reseller called Amazon Warehouse, sometimes selling these items. So instead of that, what you can do is use a returns management facility. And there is like so many different returns management facilities. But one of the things that, like EVA returns management, we are able to save 70% of the returns. Like, obviously what you can do is you can use your own warehouse, you can use a returns management facility, but if you can handle it, instead of Amazon, what you can do is like 70% of the items you can send it back to Amazon as new. You can also send a lot of items is in a like new condition, which is not used a lot with the private labels, with the brands, like the resellers always use that like new condition. It might also be a brand strategy not to sell anything like new, but we see like 70% of the items can be returned back to Amazon even as new. Just to give you an idea, if you're in a business where you have a lot of variations, like you have an X large t-shirt and the large t-shirt, let's say the consumer purchases the large and the X large, because that's what some of the consumers do, right? Like, because they don't know the size, and even if they know, they still buy, like, for example, the yellow one and the blue one. And now what happens if they like the blue one, they just return back the yellow one or the large one. And actually it's not used. It's a new item. If you let Amazon handle it, most likely that it might be disposed at all. So that's where I think, it makes a lot of sense to use a returns management facility. And one of the things, like back to, the EVA dashboards, like one of the things that the EVA 3PL team is looking at, for example, all the possible returns in the last year. And if any return happens, like, already the returns management team knows like how many are returned, how many are disposed. And based on that, there is a matching between what is returned versus what is kind of can be returned back after an inspection and everything. So that's really mind-blowing, like how much we saved for a textile company. It's almost like this company was doing around $1 million a month, and the returns were around 6%, and we were able to save like 70% of the 6%. If you kind of like calculate that number, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. So that's a kind of a nice strategy to use the returns facility. Now, moving forward, One of the things that we see, is a third strategy is like more and more it makes sense to use a kind of a combined SEO PPC strategy, because one of the things that we did is like with the EVA Ads platform, we are able to use the same keywords for both a PPC and SEO. It's not the same way, but can be used together. And having SEO and PPC together makes a lot of sense. When I say like consolidate SEO and PPC, a lot of Amazon sellers use agencies, which makes a lot of sense, because the agency knows better how to use and how to utilize the PPC. But if the same agency is able to do SEO, we think that it makes more sense. And what we help, in that sense, both to agencies and the brand owners is like the automation that we provide, for example, with EVA Ads, which feeds both the PPC and automatically optimizes the ads and creates campaigns, but at the same time also feeds the SEO strategy. Obviously it doesn't do the last mile, which is to update the listing, which is done manually, but it kind of feeds like which keywords makes more sense to be used in an SEO strategy, which are kind of coming from the search term reports or the search query reports rather than third-party tools that are used by the SEO teams, typically like Cerebros, Helium 10, etc. Because Amazon's own search term report has a much better leverage, especially if the product is selling for some time. There is much more to learn in terms of keywords and what works from Amazon itself rather than the third-party tools. And that's why it makes sense to bring that SEO and PPC together. So that's the third one. The fourth one that I would like to talk about is reimbursements. That's kind of an interesting one. Pretty much a lot of customers know about the reimbursements now, and the interesting part is like every couple of weeks we always discover a new way of getting reimbursements. Like for the last maybe 4 years that we are dealing with reimbursements, so we have seen almost like 30 different cases. One of the interesting ones that I mentioned about returns management, and guess what, a lot of consumers, they return items which are not actually the ones that they purchased, because there is this management gap within Amazon. And also as an Amazon seller, it's very hard, like when somebody returns an item, to know that like that item is not actually what you sold, especially if you're selling items which are more than $50 in price. You can always have that type of a return fraud issue. And there is also a way of like reimbursement, getting the reimbursements if you're handling the returns. But it's just one of them. There is like inbound shipment discrepancies. There is the warehouse discrepancies. There is the remeasurement issues. And I would like to show you very quickly again, because that's super interesting. You can recover 3 to even 5% of your revenue every month from the reimbursements. And I would like to just show you like briefly like how it looks like. For example, what we were able to do is like you see that the orange ones here on the dashboard, the orange bar, that is what Amazon is like doing, like what Amazon is returning. But then if you are doing the reimbursements, or if you're using a service like EVA or any other, then that's reflected in blue. And I can go and check, for example, like what's going on with the blue ones. And you're able to see like all different type of cases that are opened and handled by the EVA team. But you can do that on your own too. It's just really time consuming, and it's not that easy to always get everything approved. But I would like to show you another interesting thing, which is called the remeasurement request. A lot of times, I mean, the measurements of the dimensions that you have, like for the boxes, like basically you box all your items, it's not the same on Amazon versus what you measure, right? I mean, it may happen. When it happens, and if the measurements are smaller on the Amazon side, which means that the FBA fees will be smaller and probably you'll not complain about it. But what if, like, you see the items and the measurements are the height, length, width, weight, whatever it is much more than what kind of like what's the real measurement. So for example, if that's the case, from the dashboard that I'm showing you right now, you can easily edit and update the measurements. That these are the Amazon ones, which will automatically trigger a case opening. And then if this type of a remeasurement case is approved by Amazon, it will be applicable to the last months or even years. Obviously Amazon will not be interested too much to pay you like the last 3 years of mistakes or everything, but this type of remeasurement cases, what we see is 70-75% success rate. But if it is successful, it can be tens of or $100,000s of dollars. In one single case, we have seen $900,000 of a FBA fee correction. So the reimbursements is a huge area. Again, you can do it on your own. But if you want a service, I mean, what we do is like we provide a success-based service, which is only 13% of the whatever is recovered is the commission that the EVA gets. You can do it on your own. You can use other services, but this can be 2 to 5% of your business. So coming to the last one, which is about the availability of the inventory. So we talked about like the ads where we address it with the traffic. We know the pricing can help with the conversion. Reimbursement can add more money into your bottom line. But at the end of the day, you need to have the availability and the kind of make sure that you are not out of stock. So one of the ways to delay the stockouts is definitely dynamic pricing. And I mentioned that to you. So especially in Q4, like increasing the prices, but it happens like as soon as like your inventory levels are starting to be lower, the pricing can go up. And at the same time, the the spend can go down. Like normally with the EVA system, this is done automatically rather than like manually you reduce the ads and then you increase the price, because it has to be done also in a gradual way rather than a 50% increase. Like every day the system will increase based on whatever the AI thinks is the right price, like 1.2% or X%, right? But at the same time, also reduce the advertising costs, because it also doesn't make sense to advertise a lot, right? While you are going to be out of stock. So that's one part of the stock avoidance. The other side of it is what you need to replenish at what time. I mean, it's always a kind of a big issue, right? What to replenish and how to replenish that. Again, I just want to show you about the replenishment forecasting, where in a way that, for example, what is important here with the replenishment is number one, the velocity, right? The velocity last month, last quarter, last 6 months, but also last year velocity. Because one of the problems with Amazon, if you're, let's say, selling a Christmas item, and if you're in January, Amazon replenishment will recommend you to buy that Christmas item to replenish it, right? Because Amazon thinks, hey, you're selling great in December and you'll continue to sell in January. So what we did was, for example, like we created a single click simulation of replenishment, which shows you also like how much you need to spend, and then the system tells for every single item how many units need to be replenished, and what is available, what needs to be replenished, and how much it will cost. And it can be done in a minute and exported. And if you play with it and submit it to Amazon, that will reduce the costs significantly. So that's the kind of the fifth strategy that I wanted to share with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed. If there's any questions, very happy to answer them too.
All right, amazing. Hi. So thank you for running through all of that. Let me cycle through here and make sure we're not missing anything. That was really good. So hi, if you don't mind, if you can share the slide deck, I'll have that posted as well. That way people can come back through there and make sure that as they're working through on their side, they have your notes. Freddie says, very interesting. So really appreciate you. Hi. Thank you so much for coming on. And let's see here. If you don't mind hanging out in the chat box for a moment, a few questions may pop up that you could answer for us. Okay.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi. All right. So hi, if you don't mind, go ahead. Oh, you did it. Perfect. We're going to go ahead and bring on Mr. Ben Leonard. Ben, welcome to the Post-Purchase Pro Monthly Masterclass, my friend.
Hello, let me just fix my camera.
All right.
Again.
There you go.
How's it going?
Hey, good.
There we go. Right, I just destroyed my microphone a little bit there, but I think we're good. Can you hear me okay? Is the audio all right?
You come through loud and clear, my friend. I've got your home office, it looks like, in you, so you're good. And then I think I have it set up to where you can share your screen if you have anything to share.
I certainly do. Give me a sec while I line everything up and share my screen. All right. Should we rock and roll?
All right, Ben. So I'm going to hang out in the background. I'll jump in with any questions that pop up that are relevant. If they're not, then we'll just hold on to them until the end of your presentation and we can go through them together. Okay.
Superb. Let's do it. All right.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I'm going to rattle through this. Let's dig in. And any questions, just chuck them in the chat and we can deal with them if they come up, like Seth was saying there, or we can do it at the end. So a little bit, very briefly, I don't want to bore you with this, but just so you kind of know who I am, generally speaking. My name is Ben Leonard. I founded a fitness brand called Beast Gear in 2016. It was my first brand. We were doing about $6 million in annual sales when I sold it in late 2019. That happened to be the first European brand to be bought by one of the aggregators emerging at the time. Now I'm building new brands. We're selling on Amazon, our own websites. We're about to do a Kickstarter in retail as well. I consult with individuals and private equity on their brands, and I help others to plan and execute their own exits with ecom brokers, which is over at ecombrokers.co.uk if you're interested. But today, I'd like to talk with you about a problem. And it's a problem we all face in our e-commerce businesses, me included. I still own brands. We're treating Amazon like a goldfish bowl, like its own system all by itself, but it's not, or at least it shouldn't be. It should be part of a wider connected ecosystem. So the solution then is to treat it like part of an ecosystem, to market our brand like a real brand, connect the dots to build a network of synergistic parts. And when we do that, we will have a business flywheel that spins faster, sooner. We're going to grow our business bigger, quicker, and we're going to make it a stronger business and more attractive to a potential buyer. And after all, that's what so many of us want to do. We want to build a business we can exit for a big payday. Because it's 2023 and I still see people making the same mistakes. I see a ton of businesses come across my desk, either with the brokerage or with my consulting, and people are still focusing all on the front end and short-termism. It's all just about like, get this customer, get the next customer on Amazon. And they're not really treating it like a real brand. They're treating it like pick a product because a software tool told me to, because it doesn't have too many reviews and there's not too much competition, and try and purely win within the Amazon Goldfish Bowl. That's kind of okay, but it's very short-termist. There's been a complete negligence to build a real brand identity and provide a real customer experience. Here's what most people do then. They get a sale on Amazon. That's fine. And they get more sales because of all their on Amazon focus, their listing optimization and doing a decent job with PPC. Nothing wrong with that. But most of us are doing that. We know this stuff. We've known it for years. This is only half of the equation, or it should be only half of the equation. Here's what we're going to do, right? What we'll do is this. We will do that. We will get sales on Amazon because we're doing a decent job on Amazon with an optimized listing and our PPCs dialed in. Fine. But then we're going to drive the customer down our own tracks with the goal of owning the customer relationship so that we can get reviews if we want them, where we want them, Amazon or elsewhere, get sales of existing products on or off Amazon, launch new products on or off Amazon, build our brand assets, and build top of funnel brand awareness, treating our business like a legit consumer packaged goods brand and escaping the Amazon goldfish bowl, which is where our competitors are stuck, okay? Now, this diagram is gonna look a bit overwhelming, but I just wanna very briefly touch on this. I'm gonna give you a link at the end to an interactive version of this. When we get an Amazon sale, through inserts or through follow-up emails, eventually, if we play our cards right, we can be interacting with our customers through podcasts, social media, training calls, webinars, YouTube, chatbots. And when we do all of that and work them through a whole bunch of systems, we can remarket to them. And when we remarket to them, we can send them emails, texts, WhatsApp messages, messages in the snail mail, in the post. We can advertise to them. We can get sales on Amazon, other marketplaces, our own website. And we can get reviews where we want them, our website, marketplaces, Trustpilot. And most of your competitors, if they did this diagram, this is all it would say, Amazon sale. And then they're chasing more Amazon sales because they're doing nothing to build a real business and build a real relationship with their customers. So let's look at the tactics that we're actually going to use, okay? These tactics are nimble tactics based on timeless marketing strategies by the likes of Seth Godin, Cal Dini, Dan Kennedy. But the platforms will change. Technology will evolve. The principle behind these strategies is timeless, but you've got to remember that over time, things will change. So you have to constantly be evolving, right? I want you to enjoy the tactics that I'm going to present, but think about how you can apply this to your own brand. Could be on a completely different platform. Doesn't matter. Think about the principles behind it, okay? So we're going to drive customers into your social media channels like Instagram and TikTok, your website, your chatbot, yes, chatbots are not dead. Your podcast, yes, a podcast for your brand, and your YouTube channel, okay? And these are just some examples, but I've only got 30 minutes, so we're just scratching the surface today. So the first example is delivering a user guide in a chatbot. And chatbots were huge hype in like 2018, 2019. Some of you will be rolling your eyes thinking, like, chatbots, this is old news. But the thing is that most people were using chatbots wrong. They were using them probably to try to do rebates, which of course is completely against terms of service. What they weren't doing was using them as a real marketing tool to build a relationship with your customers. And let me show you how we can do that. Here's the plan. You're going to have an insert and or an attachment on a follow-up email with a URL and perhaps a QR code, driving your customer to go get a user guide, for instance, or something valuable for them. And you're going to deliver that in a chatbot. And then from there, you can send that traffic wherever you want. And as a result of doing this, we're going to have a happy customer who gets the user guide or whatever you promised them. You can get reviews where you want, get sales where you want. You can avoid negative reviews, remarket in your chatbot and launch more products, and even cross-pollinate to other marketing channels. And we're going to work through an example. And you know what I hate? I hate gurus. I hate gurus who go on conferences and go on webinars like this one, and they tell us, in theory this and in theory that, but it's all smoke and mirrors. They never actually show us what they have done. So I'm going to show you what I have done with my brand. And very soon I'll be going public with my new brands, because I think that as thought leaders in e-commerce, we have to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. So by doing this, I'm kind of calling out the BS gurus. Here's an example from my first brand, Beast Gear, all right? I want you to imagine you've just bought my weightlifting straps. And inside the packaging, there was an insert that said, go to this URL or scan this code to get the user guide. You scan it, you end up in the chatbot, and it says, boom, I guess you got your lifting straps. And you click yes. And I say, great, as promised, here's the user guide. And there's a big button to get the user guide. It's really important that the first thing you do is give the customer what you promised to give them. They click that button, it opens the user guide as a PDF hosted on my website. So first of all, I can pixel them. and then follow them around the internet and drive ads at them to go buy off my website. But if I want to, I could even put it behind an email gate. So when they land on my website, they got to put their email address in. Now, some people won't like that because it does decrease conversion a bit because people have to put their email address in. But a lot of people will really want to get that guide. So you can get their email address and then market to them that way. So they get their guide and the chatbot continues. And we ask, do you like them? And of course they say they rock. And of course we send them a GIF of minions because, well, everybody loves minions. And we say, that's awesome. And I say, because you rock, here's a discount. And I offer them a discount on my website. Now, you could offer them a discount on your website or Amazon or Walmart or wherever you want, of course. And notice the classic marketing strategy here. I'll zoom in a bit. First of all, I've used the person's name, in this case, my name, Ben. Second of all, I've said it's a unique code, which makes them feel special. And thirdly, I put in scarcity. That's a classic Cialdini principle of marketing, scarcity. I said it expires in 24 hours. And I give them a button to click, deal me in. I can drive that wherever I want. In this case, I like to drive it to my website. And when I do that, I'll actually make that button go to a preloaded discount. So the person's cart on my website has got a preloaded discount in it, so they don't even need to type in a discount code. That increases conversion rate. And then in the chatbot, I pay them a compliment. I say that they're awesome with a funny GIF. I ask them to follow us on social media. In this case, Instagram and Facebook. These days, I'd probably do Instagram and TikTok. And the reason I want to do that is all my competitors on Amazon aren't thinking about this. They're stuck in the goldfish bowl. But I want my brand to be top of mind. I want my brand to be in your email inbox, on your Instagram feed, your Facebook feed, your TikTok feed. I want notifications pinging on your phone from the chatbot so that we're constantly top of mind. You bought widget A from my brand, and when you're ready for widget B, I want you to remember my brand rather than just buying any old generic rubbish on Amazon. I don't mind if you buy from me on Amazon or my website, so long as it's my brand, and my competitors aren't doing this. Here's a next level thing that you could do though. This is where it gets really interesting. Instead of just giving a user guide, what if you also gave a video? Let me explain why this is actually very exciting. It sounds kind of dull, but let me explain. Imagine that you have bought my boxing hand wraps or any product, but this example is boxing hand wraps, right? These are bandages that go over your hands before you put your hands in your boxing gloves to protect your hands, right? And in this case, I offer you the user guide, same as last time, but here I can also offer you a demo video. And when you click to watch that demo video, you land on YouTube. Now, I recorded this video of myself wrapping my hands at my kitchen table, and that video has had 5 million views. But I did nothing to drive traffic to that video other than put it in that chatbot to my existing customers. So what's happened and what are the consequences of this, right? I made this video to provide value to my customers so that they would know, like, and trust me and buy more stuff from me, and to avoid negative reviews so that they had a good experience with my product and maybe even leave a good review. But some other awesome stuff happened. Let's walk through it, right? First of all, I gave my existing customers helpful content on YouTube. That made them subscribe on YouTube and get more helpful content. And I also marketed to them on YouTube with product demos. This made them buy more stuff from me. But it also built brand loyalty because of all the great content on YouTube, which gave me more sales and more brand value. Well, that's fantastic. But something else magical happened, right? All of these positive signals on YouTube, all of these likes and views and subscribes to my channel ranked my video in YouTube. That's why we got 5 million views. So tons of leads who were searching on YouTube to solve their problem, how do I wrap my hands for boxing, were finding my video, watching it, finding it helpful, clicking the link in the description and in the video actually to go buy my product on Amazon. That sends external traffic to Amazon, and we know Amazon loves external traffic. So that ranks my product on Amazon. I'm getting new customers and getting more sales and building brand loyalty. We've got 2 different algorithms driving each other here. I'm spiking the YouTube algorithm to rank my video, and YouTube is spiking Amazon to rank my product. It's like a flywheel in 2 ways that just cannot stop spinning because I'm putting in the effort to do this and my competitors are stuck in the Amazon goldfish bowl because they're treating Amazon like its own thing and they're not treating their business like a real brand. Now, here's a pro hack. You should absolutely have a YouTube channel for your brand. If you do not have one, make one as soon as I'm finished with this presentation. And then what you should do is append $sub_confirmation equals 1 to the end of your YouTube channel URL. And let me explain why this is so important. First, I want you to see this in action, right? So right now on a different window, go to benleonard.pro/YT on your desktop or laptop, right? If you're on your phone, scan this, okay? Now, when you do this, when you go to benleonard.pro/YT on your desktop or laptop, a little box should appear asking you if you want to subscribe. And I reckon 90% of people are just going to click that because humans love to click buttons. Now, on your phone, that box does not appear, but it does open the YouTube app if you've got it, and the button is right there in the middle, and most people will click it. And the reason this is important is you can then put that URL, you can make, so all I've done here is I've made a pretty link, benleonard.pro/YT, to this URL here for my brand, right? My channel ID, !sub_confirmation=1. You can then make a pretty link for your brand's YouTube channel and put it on your inserts, on your packaging, in your email marketing, in your chatbots, in your link on your social media bios, ranking your channel, ranking your videos, bringing in new leads for your brand, which will then rank your product in Amazon because of the external traffic. And your competitors are not doing this because they're stuck in the goldfish bowl. So now we've got a happy customer who has the user guide and a demo video. We've got a subscriber in our chatbot where we can launch new products. We've got a YouTube subscriber where we can market to them. We might have their email address if we put the user guide behind a gate. And all of this is going to move the flywheel faster sooner. And your competitors are not doing this. Next example is on the Instagram or TikTok, works great. Works really well for products that people love to post about, right? Sports, hobbies, cooking, food, that kind of thing. If you have like a commodity product, it can work, and I'll show you how in a minute. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to repurpose user-generated content, and I'll tell you how we're going to get that content, and we're going to engage with everyone. And when we do this, we will get raving fans who will buy all our new stuff. We'll get an audience for future cheap product launches, and we can do what we want. We can drive sales to our site, get reviews, launch new products, okay? And it's called the Instagram funnel, and I'm going to show you how it works. First of all, you're going to have a product insert which tells people, hey, you should post about us on Instagram. And when you do and you tag us, you can win something. Like you can be entered into a monthly draw for a product or a $200 voucher, something like that. They're going to post. You probably don't even need to incentivize them. They're probably going to post anyway if you've got a great product because people like to post. It's what they do. And we can repurpose that content. So here's an example with my first brand, Beast Gear. Again, transparency about my brands. This guy posted himself with our weightlifting knee sleeves. We are going to, first of all, we're going to DM him and build a relationship. More on that later. But for now, we're going to take that and rebrand it and post it. So for example, on the left-hand side, you can see our feed, our Instagram feed. None of those photos or videos were paid for. They are all real customers. And what's great about that is not only have we saved money on having professional photos and videos done, but actually it's better marketing than professional photos and videos because of Cialdini's principle of unity, which says that people connect with other people like them. This is social proof. This converts better than professional photographs and videos, right? So it's brilliant stuff. On the right-hand side is an example where this guy posted himself with our jump rope. We branded it up a bit, posted it, and tagged him. And we said that he was today's beast. We used to do like beast of the day all the time. He's going to love it. He posted on social media for attention. And now the brand he likes is giving him attention. He's going to love that. And of course, we've made a fan for life. And of course, we're going to DM him and build a relationship. Because here's what you're going to do. Your VA is going to message everyone who follows, comment on every post that tags you, and message every fan who posts, engaging them in a conversation, perhaps offering a discount on your site and asking for a review. Let me show you how this works in practice, all right? So for instance, hey, Sarah, thanks for following. Hope you're well. Great pics of your training session the other day. Looked like a tough workout. I see you're in Edinburgh, my favorite city in the UK. Notice that is not just some generic copy-paste rubbish, but we've taken the time to browse her profile, learn about her, and start a real conversation. She's going to love us and do anything we want. Here's a longer version, right? This guy, Dave, posted a video of himself with our weightlifting straps doing a deadlift PR. We messaged him about it. We had a fun conversation. We even joked about eating ice cream after training. We then offered him a discount on our website. That's going to make him really love us. And then we asked him for a review. Now, some people would argue that this is against terms of service because we gave him a discount and then we asked for a review. However, We did not say, hey, we're only giving you a discount if you leave us a nice review. We gave them the discount first. Also, we're asking everyone on Instagram to leave a review. It just so happens that everyone on Instagram is a happy customer, of course. Whatever. This is outside of the Amazon ecosystem. Your interpretation of terms of service is up to you. I'm not telling you what to do. You don't have to ask for a review, of course. All that matters is you're building a relationship with this guy and he's going to love you and be a fan for life. The next thing you're going to do is save every single post about you in a collection. Okay, and the reason for this is that you can come back to it later and offer deals when you're launching new products. So for example, take Dave, right? Dave posted about the weightlifting straps. We would save his post in a collection called like strength training. And then 2 months later, we're launching a new strength training product. We go to our collection, every single post, we open the post, click the name of the customer, open the DMs again and pick up the conversation. Hey, Dave, it's been a couple months since we spoke. How are you doing? I loved your video of you training when you were visiting that gym in Salt Lake City. Blah, 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 blah. Have a conversation. By the way, would you like to try our new weightlifting belt for half price? Of course he would. You give him the keywords, he goes and buys it, you track it in a Google Sheet. 10 days later, you ask for a review. A review that sticks because it's verified, because you're going to make your official price actually half price as you launch. A happy customer, you're going to get keyword juice, and it's a free launch. It's just, this is gold. It's exactly how we crushed our competitors, because we have these relationships, because we took the effort to do this. And our competitors were stuck in the goldfish bowl, and that's how we crushed them. Next level hack though, you don't have to offer the customer a discount. You could offer them a free digital product. Okay, check this out. I want you to imagine that you own a knitting brand, right? And a customer has bought your knitting needles and posted about them on Insta. And now you're in the DMs. You're going to offer them a digital knitting pattern for free, discounted from like 10 or 20 bucks. And you're going to drive them direct to a checkout on your website where they can see that you've discounted it to $0. They're going to be so grateful. This builds huge reciprocity. And you can then cross-sell them another digital or even a physical product on the back end of that checkout using a post-purchase upsell app like One-Click Upsell by Zipify. Let me show you how this works, okay? Go to your Shopify admin and go to a digital product or create one, or for now, just test it on a physical product just to see how this works, right? And just add .xml to the URL. So it'll look like this, like myshopify.com/admin/products, product number.xml, right? And you're going to find something like this when you do that. And you're going to look for the variant integer, and you're going to copy it. And you're going to paste it into a direct link to cart, which looks like this. yourwebsite.com/cart/the variant ID you just copied, :1, which is the quantity. And the quantity is always going to be 1. They only need one digital knitting pattern, right? Question mark, discount equals, and then a discount code you made to discount that digital product from like 10 or 20 bucks to $0. So I might make it vote for Ben. And then you're just going to make a redirect to make it a pretty link. So for instance, benleonard.pro/vote for Ben. I suggest you try that, by the way. And you can use this in the DMs to really add value. So you could say, hey, because you rock, I decided to give you a knitting pattern for free. Just grab it here, myknittingbrand.com/deal. And you could even put it in your email marketing, your chatbots, even on your packaging and inserts if you want, right? At your discretion, of course. People are going to love you. And I want you to see how this works, okay? So after you've got their email address, of course, you can market to them however you like. I want you to see this in action, right? Scan this or go to benleonard.pro/vote for Ben. And the reason I want you to see it in action is you have to understand that when you land in the checkout, a psychological thing happens when you see that it was like 20 bucks and now it's $0. And all they have to do is complete the checkout. It doesn't cost them anything. They just have to put their email address in to complete the checkout. And on the back end of that, they're going to love you so much for getting the free product. If you tried to upsell them like a $5 product, they would be absolutely delighted. Next example is email. I really hope you're selling through your own website and not just Amazon. And I really hope you're using email. It is the best opportunity in e-commerce. I use it to drive like 1/3 of my website revenue. And about 20% of it is set and forget and make money while you sleep. Too good to be true automations, okay? But what happens if you have a customer's email address, but they've never bought from you on your website, and therefore you don't know what they want to hear about, right? We're going to ask them. Let me explain. Let me show you a case study, okay? Beast Gear had 3 types of customers. We had boxing fans, fitness fans, and strength fans, and we segmented them according to what they liked. So I sent helpful information about boxing on a Tuesday, fitness on a Sunday, and strength on a Thursday to make them know, like, and trust us with all this great content, and then they'd buy from me. But if I didn't know what they wanted to hear about, I did not want to send the wrong email to the wrong person. I did not want to send strength emails to boxing fans. They're going to put me in the spam folder, and then all my emails will go in the spam folder, right? That's not good. So I asked them. In my welcome series, I had an email that said, can you help answer this? Huge open rate, 26%, because of the compelling subject line, and a huge click-through rate because of the amazing email. Which one are you most interested in? And then 3 buttons, and humans love to click buttons: strength, boxing, or fitness. And now you pretend that you like strength. So you click the strength button. And guess what? It tells the back end of my email tool that you like strength. So now I know I should send you strength emails on a Thursday that's going to make you know, like, and trust me, understand that I know all about strength, and you're going to want to buy from me. And my competitors aren't doing this, and they're stuck in the Amazon goldfish bowl, okay? But when you click a button, something has to happen. You have to go somewhere. So of course, I drive you to my chatbot, cross-pollinating you back to my chatbot, and I can market to you in there. And of course, in my chatbot, I've tagged that you like strength training as well. And then I say, look, thanks for telling me you like strength training. I'm going to send you strength information, but for now, check out this article about deadlifts. So you click the button to learn about deadlifts, and guess what? You land on my website where I can give you value. So it's a triple whammy. I can send you targeted emails about strength. I've got you in my chatbot now, right? And of course, I've just driven you back to my website with immediate valuable content you might buy from me right now. But also, I've now ranked my article in Google because of all that external traffic. And so Google's going to send me even more leads for my brand. And my competitors are stuck in the Amazon goldfish bowl. So I've ranked on YouTube, we're ranking in Google, we're spiking external traffic to Amazon as well. Next example is WhatsApp. I wanted to know if I could connect with my customers on WhatsApp shortly after they had bought from me. Check this out. Hey, I'm Ben from Beast Gear. I've just had a notification that you placed an order with us, so thank you so much for doing that. I've already sent an email about your order, so if you have any questions, just hit reply to that and I'll try and help. We're a small family business, so customers like you really make a big difference, so thank you so much for ordering with us. I hope you love the kit. Give me a shout when it arrives. Any questions, just get in touch. Cheers. All right, so you've just bought from me, and a short time later, you get a really personal video thanking you for ordering on your phone, on your personal WhatsApp, not WhatsApp business, a real personal WhatsApp. You're blown away. How did I do it? We used a tool called Make, which is like Zapier, but better, to pull the phone number from the order. We dropped that in a Google Sheet automatically. It created a web.whatsapp link. My team member clicks the link and drops that video into the chat and says something like, thank you, Dave, for your order. If they already ordered from us, it tells us, and we send them a different video that says, thanks for ordering a second time. And when you pay that level of personal attention to people, they are absolutely blown away. And it is that kind of attitude, whether it's on our own website or dealing with customers from Amazon in Amazon emails or through our chatbot, that leads to incredible reviews. And notice all these reviews where my name is highlighted. Now, of course, we were doing $6 million in sales. I wasn't doing this. This was my team on my behalf. But that's how we beat our customers and escaped the Amazon goldfish bowl. And this was all great until this happened. Shortly after I sold the brand, this happened. So first of all, they left a great review because my systems were working. They said that it was fantastic, 5 stars. Then they needed some help, and they said it was just another brand because the new owner wasn't running things my way. And they dropped some stars. And finally, they were really angry, and they said, the business has changed. It's all very automated or corporate. And so this is why you got to be careful. And this is why you got to escape the goldfish bowl and do this kind of thing. This is what the aggregators are doing wrong and probably what your competitors are doing wrong. But can we go even further? You remember my boxing hand wraps video from about 10 minutes ago? Well, what if we did this? What if we drove our customers from our insert to a Calendly link where we give them a private training lesson on how to wrap their hands for boxing or change their skateboard wheels or start their knitting pattern, right? We would get our customer live on a call. We'd get a review live on the call. We'd get their email address when they book the call. We'd get them to post to social live on the call. We'd give them a discount live on the call, and we'd have a fan for life for all future launches. Now, you're probably thinking, Ben, this doesn't scale. I can't possibly go on calls with all my customers. You're right, you can't. Well, first, you could only offer a few slots per week. It's going to make a difference. Every review counts. You could also put the insert into only a percentage of packaging. You also got to remember that when you first start with a new product, you probably can do this in every unit. But you could drive lots of people to a group training webinar like this one instead of Calendly. Okay, last example, podcasts. I believe brands should have podcasts. It's very common for brands to have podcasts. Think of some of your favorite brands. I bet they've got podcasts, right? It just makes sense. It's another touch point for that brand. You can and you should sponsor podcasts, but you can also grow your own podcast too. It's hard, but here's a hack, okay? First of all, you need to see this in action. So scan that code or go to benleonard.pro/pod, all right? Please all do that. You need to see how this works or it won't make sense. Scan the code or go to benleonard.pro/pod, okay? And when you do that, something cool will happen. If you're on an Apple device, it will open Apple Podcasts and ask you to subscribe. Most people will click yes. If you're on Windows or Android, you'll land on the podcast's landing page. Not quite as good, but not bad. So the first thing we can do is simply drive people with a URL like that to our podcast. From emails, packaging, chatbots, DMs, social bios, and then give our audience amazing content in the podcast. But we could actually do something even better. We could drive ads directly to our audience, our target audience, but only people on Apple devices so that it pops up that box on Apple Podcasts, right? Like this. Say I've got a knitting brand, USA's #1 knitting podcast, and that's my ad. Two things are going to happen. One, all the knitting fans who see that ad are going to click subscribe to my podcast and hear my content, and then go buy from me on Amazon and rank my product on Amazon and beat my competitors who are stuck in the goldfish bowl. But also, we're going to rank the podcast on Apple Podcasts, which is going to bring in new fans who I didn't even have to pay for their click on Facebook here. Going to bring in new fans who haven't heard about me, who are also going to go buy my product on Amazon now and hear about my brand and build all this awareness. And my competitors are not doing this. It's very easy. All you have to do is type podcast : / and then your podcast feed. So if you've got a podcast, do that. And if you don't have a podcast, make a podcast and then do that, right? Okay. You need to escape the Amazon goldfish bowl, all right? You must start with great products and a strong brand. I'm all about brand. And treat your business with the respect it deserves. It's a real brand. It's not a side hustle, okay? So thanks for tuning in. I know Seth said you'll get the slides, you will, but I actually made an ebook with more material than this. It's free. You can get it at benleonard.pro/tips or scan that. And there's a 30-minute video where I actually go over all this again. So if you missed anything, you can hear me go through it again. Free, not selling anything. benleonard.pro/tips or scan that. And lastly, I just want to tell you about something cool, which is that this October, my book is coming out, Quit Stalling and Build Your Brand. And if you go to quitstallingbook.com/post-purchase-pro, you'll get a free chapter and awesome bonuses. You need to type the post-purchase pro bit to get that, the free chapter and awesome bonuses. It's a book that I wish had existed when I started, so I wrote it for all of you. I hope you love it. And thank you, Seth and Sean, for having me today. I really appreciate it. And any questions, just reach out to me.
Yeah, this has been great, Ben. I really appreciate you, man. Thanks
man.
for sharing.
Pleasure.
All right, we're right on time as well. So we're moving on to Mr. Amit. Let's see if we can get you going here.
Yeah,
Perfect.
1 second. Yeah, hi, Ben. Nice to see you. Never mind.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, I'm great. Hi, Seth. How are you?
Hey, I'm really good. So I have it set up to where you should be able to do a screen share if you have any slides or any thing to walk through here. There you go.
Yeah.
And then I'll go ahead and hang out in the background, answer any questions that pop up throughout. And then if it doesn't make sense to interrupt you, then we'll just get to it all at the end, okay?
Right, cool. So thank you for having me. I hope the audience here love logistics or interested in logistics. I know it can be quite a boring subject, but I will try to give you some insights. My goal is to try to help you guys to reduce your overall logistics cost by some hacks and tactics that I will share in this presentation. So if anyone has some question, feel free to interrupt me. And yeah, let's dig into it. So first of all, my name is Amit. I'm the owner and the founder of ProBox. ProBox is a digital platform for international freight. We provide freight forwarding, warehousing, basically for Amazon sellers and e-commerce in general, right? So let's just try to go to the next slide. Yeah. Right. So let me take this one here. Right. So the first tactic I would say in terms of trying to reduce your overall logistic cost is plan your freight using a conservative or pessimistic point of view. And why? In logistics, anything can happen, meaning planning your logistics in the hope that everything will go smoothly and leaving no room for errors is a false perspective by definition that can eventually trip a seller up. And why is it? Basically, I'm working, like ProBox are working with more than 1,000 sellers. Most of the sellers that I know, especially in the e-commerce business, have basically zero knowledge in logistics. You are guys more focused on PPC, listing, whatever. The problem is that without the experience and knowledge in logistics, people are gonna say, hey, I don't know, the Chinese forwarder, whoever, gave me a great transit time of, I don't know, 24 days, but eventually the vessel was omit the port, the container was stuck at customs in the States, and eventually instead of being like 24 days, it reached to 40 or even 50 days. So in that case, most likely you're going to be eventually out of stock. So the goal for Amazon seller is always to be in stock. And for that reason, it's super, super, super important to plan your overall logistics in a pessimistic point of view, considering that everything can happen along the way. So if there is a three key points that ProBox can suggest to consider in this case is be aware to the real estimated transit time to a specific destination, right? So there is a big difference in terms of transit time going to West Coast to Los Angeles or to some FBA center in the East Coast. And always remember, different destination has a different route and overall transit time. So again, going to Los Angeles is about just port to port only. Let's say from Shanghai to Los Angeles is about 15 days, and going to New York is about 35 days. So there is a big, big difference here. Allow extra weeks in your timing for delays, potential custom issue, and holdups. Yeah, that's what I described. Work with a freight forwarder who can help personalize and advise you on your shipping plan. So again, most of Amazon sellers are familiar, rather, by the way, if there are 7 or 8 figure sellers, doesn't have enough experience and knowledge. In contrary to retailers, because retailers normally have a department just for import, just for logistics, and it's a total different ballgame. But for those Amazon sellers that lack with experience, I would highly recommend to try to plan your freight in a conservative way, eventually in order to stay in stock. What's going on? Yeah, going to the next one is searching for the if you are searching for a new product to develop, make sure you verify in advance your product HTS code and duty percentage with a custom broker at a specific marketplace. And why? Each product in the world has a unique HTS code that stands for Harmonized Tariff Schedule, a classification system used to help determine custom duties to be paid on imports. Same product can suffer from a different duty percentage in a different marketplace. And let me explain. A specific HTS code in the US can have, for an example, 6%, I don't know, 5% or 10% duty. In the UK, it can be 2%. In Canada, it can have 6%. So same product exactly, with same exact definition or HTS code, can have different duty percentage at a specific destination country. So if you're going to take the example that we wrote here, a specific product based on a specific HTS code, 4421, 0.99, 0.9880 has a total in the US of 28.3% duty, while in the UK, same product under same HS code will have only 0%, and in Canada, it's gonna have 6%. So you can understand your margin. So if you thinking about developing new product, you don't verify your HTS code in advance, boom, you source the product, you manufacture the product, you think everything is great, now you ship the product to the US, boom, you need to pay 28% duty. So think about your margin, always think about your margin and try to understand your real margin. Duty is part of your margin, right? You cannot avoid it. So consider your HTS code in advance and verify it with a custom broker in the specific destination, right? So that's a huge input in my opinion. I know like 99% of the sellers doesn't verify the HTS code in advance, and it's not after you sourcing the product and manufacture the product. It should be prior to you sourcing your product and manufacture the product. Just here, I will give an example that I'm working with one of the US biggest aggregator. They tried to ship a product that had like, I forgot the name, but it has like almost about 200% duty. So it's because of anti-dumping situation. So basically, after we did like a compliance and verifying the HTS code, they're just looking for an alternative, and they decided not to ship the product because with 200% duty, there is not going to be a margin, but they're going to be even in a loss in that specific product. So again, super important. Going to the next one. So unless your product is fragile or sensitive, always export your goods as floor loaded if possible. And why? Unless your product requires special care and must be loaded on pallets, loading the goods as floor loaded means you can help decrease your overall shipping cost. And let me try to explain. I took this example. If a seller wants to export 100 cartons with a dimension of 50 by 50 by 50 centimeters in this case, the total cubic meter would be roughly about 12.5 cubic meter. But exporting the same cartons amount on pallets would require about 5 to 6 pallets approximately, right? Even if you maximize your pallets and use the maximum height that can be used based on Amazon TOS, which is about 72 inches, once loaded into container, let's say 40 foot, you would not be able to load all pallets on each other as a result of overall volume. And that meaning that your overall volume would be roughly about 13, I don't know, to 15 cubic meter, which is about like another 2 cubic meter. So considering the rates these days for LCL to West Coast is about, let's say, $150 per cubic meter. So now, in case we are loading the goods on pallet, so basically we add roughly about $300 to $400 US just because we decided to put the goods on pallets. So again, the general assumption would be, unless your goods is fragile or super sensitive for any reason for a long journey, I would highly recommend to pick up the load or the freight as floor loaded and ship it by SPD option. You 100% decrease your overall logistics cost in this case, and it's much convenient option. Going to the fourth suggestion of us is if you are selling on the US marketplace, if so, try to ship your goods or get an FBA in the West Coast of the US. And why? Cost and transit time to the West Coast are much better and much faster compared to other destination ports in the US. So I know as an Amazon seller, I know you cannot choose what's going to be your FBA. In some cases, Amazon will even split your total number of cartons to multiple locations. There is some softwares and there is some tricks, for example, to put like a shipping form address at the West Coast and try to pray to God to get a West Coast, an FBA at the West Coast. The difference in cost, just to give some comparison in that regard, going to West Coast, let's say Amazon FBA, ONT8, LAX9, SGB8, those FBA centers in LA area, the relative cost by cubic meter would be roughly about $100 to $150 per CBM. Same volume exactly going to mid-USA or to the East Coast will be at least $200 per CBM. So the difference is huge. I started this presentation by explaining that going to West Coast Los Angeles, if you're going to ship by regular option, it will be about 15 days port to port with overall 25 to 30 days from basically departure to destination to FBA center. While going to the East Coast, just port to port only is about 35 days. And the total journey can be roughly about 50 days. So again, shipping to West Coast can utilize your cash flow, your overall logistics cost, and the transit time. And again, I know you cannot, as a seller, you cannot choose and decide what's going to be your FBA eventually. But if there is some tricks to try to do, or working with some software that can generate eventually an FBA at the West Coast. So I would highly recommend to do everything in your power to try to convince Amazon, so to speak, to change the FBA into the West Coast. And lastly, know your carrier's chargeable weight regulation and try to avoid paying a dead freight for no reason. And why is it? Keep in mind that the different carriers has a different TOS. When using UPS or FedEx for ground delivery, make sure your carton's physical weight or chargeable weight is at least 10 to 12 kilogram and do not exceed 27 kg. Now, I know that as a fact, even if you are an 8-figure seller or a big aggregator, those data you don't know. And you guys don't even understand how many times I faced this issue that the total carton weight is, I don't know, about 5 kilogram and the chargeable weight. And I will be able to present a formula on how to calculate your chargeable weight compared to the physical weight. But in general, let's say the physical weight is 5 kilogram and the chargeable weight is 8 kilogram. When you will choose in your shipping plan, when you create a shipping plan, choose shipment using SPD, and UPS or FedEx will be the ground carrier in the US. Basically, no forwarder will tell you that there is a minimum chargeable weight of 10 kilogram or 12 kilogram in the US. So for that example, if you have 10 cartons and the physical weight is 15 kilograms, so you will get a quote from a forwarder who will tell you, the chargeable weight is going to be 50 kilogram. But once the load will be picked up from your supplier to the forwarder, then your forwarder will say, sorry, I forgot to mention that each carton using UPS is 12 kilograms. So instead of 50 kg, it's going to be 120 kg. Now take, for example, if the general air freight these days is about $6 per kg. So if there is a 70 kilogram difference, right, multiplied by 6 is almost $420 difference, basically, that you didn't know that you're going to pay, and your forwarder will force you to pay it. Otherwise, you will have to pick up the goods, change to forwarder, ask again for a quotation. You're losing time, you're losing money. So knowing this regulation is critical, in my opinion, and it for sure can save you significant cost. And as big as the order or the bigger the volume of a specific order will be, the more intense difference is going to be eventually. And knowing your regulations, like saying I didn't know my regulations is just an excuse. Like knowing the regulations is super important. and I personally saved like dozens, if not hundreds of sellers paying like dead freight, which they shouldn't be. And I think that's a great example of working with an expert can eventually generate and help you reducing your overall logistics cost. So that's basically basically was the insights. That's about ProBox. If you guys, you can scan our QR code here, you can have like a 30 minutes call with me. We're also going to provide a coupon code for new sellers working with our ProBox platform under PPP 200. So for everyone or new seller that wants to try ProBox, use PPP 200 in your quotation and put this as a coupon code, and this will be for sure like something nice to give to your audience, guys. So thank you for the time.
Yeah, man, I'm really glad that you got to come on and share some of those ways that you can save with logistics. That's really, really helpful, guys. Reach out to Amit there at that link that he provided. Again, we're not getting anything for this. We just want to bring you guys the best stuff. So Amit, thank you so much for coming on and sharing, man.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's move on to the end of our show here. Let's see, guys. This has been another episode of the Post Purchase Pro Monthly Masterclass. Now, officially, the content's over, but I do have one quick little poll for you. If you've noticed, about 2 times a year, Sean and I host what we call a hacks webinar. Now, we've asked our clients this, the ones that we help do email marketing for their Amazon business. We asked them this question, but I want to ask you guys, since you may or may not be a client as well, but if we hosted an in-person live event where you could come into Orlando and you could come for free and learn hacks for a day or two, would you be interested in coming to a live event? We're thinking October. I'm just trying to put a little bit of a feeler out there to see who would actually want to come and hang out in person, and we can just go through hack after hack to help your business. Let me know in the chat box if that sounds appealing to you. If you don't want to travel and you'd rather just stick to virtual, I'd love to hear that as well. Amit says that sounds good to him. Martin would like to do in person as well. Let's see here. What Chad's in? Of course, Chad, you're down for anything, aren't you, my friend? Hari's in person. Yep, this is good. So love to hear the feedback. If we decide to do it, which I think we are at this point, we'll send out a little bit of information and let you guys plan ahead. I think we're thinking October, but should be a lot of fun to meet all of you guys in person. So with that, I guess this is it. This has been another episode of the Post Purchase Pro Monthly Masterclass. We'll see you guys in July. Thanks everyone for hanging out.